Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's Saturday Night Live, so we will be taking a lot of your questions during the show. However, we're going to start off with Anthony Martial potentially being offered an escape route from Manchester United this week. The Spanish transfer window does not close until Wednesday or Thursday, the 31st of August, whichever that is. And that means that they can still be making signings all over Europe. Now, we feared that maybe Barcelona for Pogba, that's not going to happen. But Martial to Sevilla is being reported by Marca as a potential one-season loan deal, which has sort of divided some United fans. It's been rumbling around for 24 hours. And I think that, look, the situation with Martial, I heard Pinocchio, Phil Thompson, talking earlier about how Martial was the worst player on the pitch against Brighton, and he's clearly not listening to Jose Mourinho. How an ex-Liverpool player who absolutely despises Manchester United knows these things, I don't know. But put simply, as I said before, Anthony Martial's performance against Brighton was not that good, but it certainly wasn't as bad as Paul Pogba's. And Anthony Martial is an attacker. And if you're an attacker in a United side, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a bad game because we don't attack, as the stats will show. So Martial-Mourinho relationship dynamic, yeah, probably not the best. Probably not the best relationship there. But I think that I don't think Anthony Martial starts against Tottenham, which is a shame. I think we will go back to Sanchez and Lingard, as I said earlier on. But I don't see how Manchester United could. I mean, in many ways, as a year loan for Martial, first team football in La Liga at a decent team, it ticks a lot of boxes. And I think, I'm going to take some of your comments later, and I'm sure a lot of you would agree with that. However, it doesn't really tick Manchester United's box because we only have in the wide positions Rashford, Sanchez, Mata, Lingard and Martial. 5 players for 2 positions. You take Martial out of that equation, you've only got 4 for 2. Yeah, you've got people like Chong waiting in the wings, literally, but is he ready? Does Mourinho trust youth? So it's a ridiculous situation between Mourinho and Martial because we know, because Mourinho announced it last week, that they did fine him. I mean, on the face of it, I think that was a little bit harsh, but we don't know the full story. He has been fined. We know that he wanted to leave because of Mourinho. It doesn't look like that relationship has been mended because when he was subbed against Brighton, there was no eye contact, there was no handshake. So they clearly don't get on. However, you have this weird situation where Sevilla for Martial on a loan, he probably ticks the box for him. I can play week in, week out. I can get my place back in the French squad. And in a year's time, with a year left on my contract at Manchester United, I can decide my future. Maybe I'd go to Sevilla for good if Mourinho stays, or maybe I'd come back to United with a season's football behind me. So I actually think I personally have surprised myself on this show. That doesn't normally happen, but I want to know what you lot think first of all, because I actually think it's a good move for Martial. If he went to Sevilla on a year's loan, I'd actually be quite positive about it. I just don't see how we can do it. I don't see how we can do it because we don't have the squad depth to do it. However, Mourinho's not going to play him anyway. Mourinho clearly doesn't like him, so we're going to keep him for squad depth, but then we're never going to use him really unless we're desperate. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I ultimately think Anthony Martial will end up staying at Manchester United this season, but it's a weird situation, that one, a really weird situation. Loan him out, says Manchester United. We need Tony because we are short of attackers, says Sally Devil Red 7, but it may be best for both parties. I'd agree with that. And Jeff Hepner says, I watched the Class of 92 last night and I literally cried. All of the legends came back to the way we played and the style. That's why they overcame diversity. Jose out, says Jeff. If Martial goes, top 4 is gone. If we have injuries, says Karan Bansai. I'd rather put Rashford out on loan. He'll come back a beast, says Raj Hussain. Funnily enough, Raj, I sort of do agree with you. I think both Martial and Rashford would benefit from loans because I can't see them getting enough first team minutes. I think in many ways, this season is echoing last season for us as Manchester United fans. It's the same style of football. It's the same lack of consistency. I'm sure he'll make wholesale changes for the game against Spurs. And it's the same Rashford and Martial who won't be starting games. They're just going to get scraps here, there and everywhere. What does that do for lads in their early 20s to have 2 or 3 years of that? Certainly it'll be 2 years under Jose. 3 years actually under Jose, where Martial hasn't been picked first team player. Whereas the season before he was. So his development, and Rashford's to a certain extent, I mean, Jose will always point to the fact, well, Rashford's played more minutes for me than anybody, but he doesn't start many games for you. He needs to start games. But we won't loan either of them out because they will just be squad bench players. And I think that's problematic in itself. I do want to talk about the style of play. I want to talk about De Gea and a couple of other things as well. And I want to take as many questions from you lot as well. So please do drop a like on the video and subscribe if you are new. But also want to just have a little bit of a summary of the Premier League day that we've had. So Manchester City, surprisingly, only getting a point at Wolves. Arsenal obviously winning, they're not a rival. And Liverpool beating Brighton 1-0, who we beat. We got beaten by 3-2 last week. So I don't know whether Jose Mourinho in his mind tonight might be sat there going, well, Liverpool only beat them 1-0. But for anybody who actually watched that game, and I did, Liverpool could have won that game 4 or 5-0. I think Liverpool were just a little bit like Crystal Palace. They'd always done enough to win that game, but they did leave a gap that was quite close that they could have got a sucker punch. And in previous years, they probably would do. And I think from a Liverpool point of view, their fans tonight will be saying top of the league, no goals conceded, and we're grinding out results. Now, we were top of the league this time last year. We'd won 3 out of 3, and the year before. So it doesn't mean anything that you're top of the league now. It's nice, great, but it doesn't mean a lot. But whether Liverpool are going to be the challengers for the title or not, I don't know, and I do really care, but at the moment it's too early to talk about that. What we can talk about, though, is the contrast. And the one thing that I really watched that Liverpool-Brighton game for was because, really, I just wanted to see and confirm what my fears in my mind, and probably a lot of yours are as well, is what sort of approach Brighton had to the game. I mean, I joked that they were going to go bend over and pass the lube to Liverpool from minute one, and get absolutely hammered. They didn't quite do that. It was a bit unfair. They are a professional team and they did put a lot of effort in. But what I saw from Brighton against Liverpool, and I think you'd see the same from Brighton against Man City and Spurs, and we spoke about this in the week, was they were scared. They were scared of Liverpool. And Liverpool's goal was from an interception from Milner, fast movement to the ball, 1-0. And Brighton were absolutely terrified of Liverpool because Liverpool moved the ball quickly and they pressed them, and Brighton automatically just went back and didn't dare to really break. Well, they wanted to break, but they didn't want to keep hold of the ball. They wanted to break quickly on the counter. Against us, they were, like I said, pipe and slippers, hobnobs, dipping it in their tea, checking their phones on the way back to the halfway line because they know United moved the ball slow. They weren't scared. They wanted to express themselves. And that's what I noticed the most and knew would happen, is that teams, when they play us, especially the lesser teams, I think we'll see a different United against Spurs, but teams, when they play us, they're just not scared of us. And they're not scared of us because our style of football is abysmal, absolutely abysmal. Now, I saw Jose Mourinho, I saw an article in the Manchester Evening News, and I remember this from last season, so sorry to those who remember me saying this before, but Jose Mourinho is always adamant that no matter what the result, win, lose or draw, his players have 2 days off. He won't drag them in early because they've had a bad result, like other previous managers at the club have. I think Sir Alex Ferguson did. I certainly think Van Halen Moyes did. But Mourinho doesn't do that. No matter what, United players will know they've got 2 days off after every game. Now, I don't know what you think about that. Personally, I think it feeds into the lethargy of Manchester United at the moment, is that even if you lose, you've got 2 days off. And when you're playing football for Manchester United, you're not to press the ball. And when you've got the ball, you're not to be energetic and move it. The whole club, from top to bottom, just seems to be infected with this laziness in creating chances, laziness in moving around, laziness in moving the ball, laziness after games where you're always going to have 2 days off so they can plan their family events. I mean, that's all great, well and good, but I've had jobs, and I'm sure all you have, where if something goes wrong or there's a big incident or something needs to get done, it's all hands to the pump. And maybe I was thinking about this and I thought, maybe if those players thought they might get dragged in a day earlier, it might just be an extra little thing in their head that makes them think, I really fancied going down Lidl on Tuesday and doing my shopping, and then probably popping down the local cinema and watching Transylvania 3. And then if they lose, they can't do it, and that that's the human psyche, isn't it? They'll be frustrated by that. I just think I think the tactics are bad, and that comes down to Mourinho. But I also think the players are very lethargic because they're not being motivated on and off the pitch, and I think that is something that I don't quite understand it. Maybe Jose wants. He's got a good collection of box sets that he wants to watch in his hotel in the Lowry. I don't understand it. I just think there needs to be more urgency. Urgency is the word I would say that Manchester United are lacking throughout the team and throughout the club. There's just no urgency to go out and sort these problems. What I would say in defence of Jose is, though, there's a lot of things in the press today about how he turned up for the press conference 20 minutes early. He only spoke for 5 minutes. Look, at the end of the day, I judge Jose on the press conferences in relation to what he's giving us, the fans. His relationship with the press is understandable. He doesn't like a lot of the press. And I think he needs to play the game a little bit better. But the press having a pop at Mourinho, I think actually a lot of people will end up sympathising with him for that. CJS AZREX_77 says, just want to say, Mark, love the channel. Been subscribed for a while and the content recently has been amazing. Don't think you get the appreciation you deserve. Well, thanks for the contribution and thanks for the lovely comment. Mourinho will never change his old ways, says Crash Bandicoot. Teams are coming to play United. They used to fear coming to United, says Michael Jones. Exactly, well put. I'm disgusted and disappointed. There's a clear divide between the board, the manager and the players, says Google. And if you're not one of Jose's favourites and have had one bad game, you're out for 2 or 3 games. No young players will develop under these circumstances, says Lion Pride. Keep the questions coming, keep the comments coming. We're going to be reading a few of those. There's just a couple of things I need to discuss before that. Manchester Skulls 18 says, without a proper drilled, cohesive attack, we will have the element of vulnerability every match with Jose at the helm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And David De Gea, this came out today from the press that, all summer there's been a lot of talk about David De Gea's about to sign a new contract. We've even done a video on it because that's what the rumour was. And I think David De Gea will sign a new contract, but it came out today that he's nowhere near signing that contract because he wants to be paid the same money or more than Pogba or Sanchez. Look, at the end of the day, Manchester United, they should double his wages to Alexis Sanchez and Paul Pogba because David De Gea, whatever you think about him, has consistently performed in a Manchester United shirt. In some very poor Manchester United teams with some very poor Manchester United tactics, David De Gea has held his head up and been absolutely imperious for us. Absolutely fantastic. So give him the money he deserves. He's probably the most deserving player in that United squad of £500,000 a week. He's fantastic. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. He's been brilliant for Manchester United. And we should not be irritating a player of that worth to us who actually understands what the club and the badge is all about and does, 99 times out of 100, he performs really well. He wasn't great against Brighton, but he deserves the money. Give it to him. As Gabriel says, he deserves the money. And also, just very quickly, before I start taking some of your live comments as well, one thing I don't think I spoke about in the press conference reaction yesterday was that Jose Mourinho spoke about the Brighton result and he spoke about eradicating the sloppy mistakes. And I thought, I'm going to jump on that sloppy mistake by Mourinho tonight for a minute or so and just say, Jose Mourinho's a deflector. He will deflect everything off him. Wings of steel, batfink, everything bounces off because it can never be his fault. And that's not a criticism. I've said this constantly over the time that he's been at Manchester United. Jose Mourinho will never sit there and self-reflect on what he's done wrong. That's just not who he is. And you can be critical of it, but you can't be surprised about it. You can't expect Jose Mourinho after a game where they lose to Brighton to come out and say, it's my fault. The players are not motivated. They're lazy because I'm allowing them to be lazy because I tell them not to press and I tell them to move the ball slowly. And I basically bore them to death as a manager and that's why they're making mistakes. He's never going to tell that truth. He's always going to go, mistakes cost you games, even though the mistakes are coming from him. But what I wanted to do is just be generous and say, well, okay, let's go along with Jose's rhetoric that if we eradicate those mistakes, then we wouldn't have lost that game against Brighton. Well, the penalty at the end, I thought we were very lucky to get. So I don't think we would have scored 2 goals. But even if you took those chances away from Brighton, they still had good chances to score and they may have scored anyway. But I don't. This is the thing. This is where I'm coming from with the mistakes that Jose talks about. Yes, we made defensive mistakes. We all know that. A lot of us know why we're making defensive mistakes because our players are lazy in the mind and they're lethargic, as we said. But we're not a team that created 10 chances against Brighton, hit the woodwork twice, had a worldie. We created next to nothing against Brighton. Next to nothing. And we certainly didn't put them under any pressure. So we can talk about sloppy mistakes, but we didn't do enough to win that game anyway. And I think this is where Mourinho needs to be very, very careful. Well, he doesn't need to be careful because he probably doesn't care about this. But the reality is I think a lot of United fans are waking up to the truth that hiding behind individual mistakes is all well and good if you've been unlucky at the other end and you've not put the ball in the back of your net yourself. But we're not creating chances. So all right, those mistakes don't happen. We draw the game. What did we do to win that game? And let's not forget, we were 3-1 down at half time. We didn't make any defensive mistakes in the second half. They didn't score again. But we created nothing other than a last-minute penalty to go after that game. Liverpool, in the first 10 minutes of their game against Brighton, created more chances than we have in our first 2 games of the season. And Spurs did that as well in their first game. So it's like we are not creating chances. And we all know that. And that needs to change. Anyway, let's smack into some of your comments. And let's see what you say. Let's see what you've got to say. De Gea is a loyal Manchester United player, says Joshua Darasami. They need to give him the money. I agree with you, Joshua, 100%. It's not coincidence we haven't scored 5 or more since Sir Alex, says Stavros M. It isn't, because the club, the board, have elected to choose 3 very defensive-minded managers in Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho. And I always will say this. Yes, the manager has to be the blame. The manager is the one who will get the sack. Whether it's Manchester United, history shows you that. When the results go bad, the manager gets sacked, the players don't. And the board very rarely gets sacked. That's right, that's fair, that if the manager's not the right manager. But we must always not forget that the board have inflicted on us 3 managers that do not befit Manchester United. As I was tweeting this afternoon, Manchester United are a lazy, boring, defensive football team. Is that acceptable considering their history of what our club's all about? I don't think it is, but that's been inflicted on us. It's not an accident. 3 managers in a row. Again, it just displays to me a total lack of knowledge of what the club's all about and football, really. Talk about Lee Sharp's comments, says Gabriel Medina. We did that in the week. Lee Sharp just basically saying that Jose Mourinho will be gone by Christmas. It's not new news, says Michael Jones. De Gea contract talks. Keep Mourinho or I won't sign no contract and I'll go to Barcelona, says Dre Gaming. And over £700 million spent since Sir Alex Ferguson's and Lion Pride. Look, I think in relation to the money that Manchester United have spent since Sir Alex Ferguson, it's a lot of money. It's getting on for £1 billion, isn't it? So we haven't spent it well. I think a lot of the players we've bought haven't been good enough. And maybe that's what the board were on about this summer, that they didn't want to go and spend big money on 30-year-olds. So you can sort of understand that. But it does put you in that situation where as a manager, you're not getting the players that you want. So why am I here? But for me, as I said this morning, it's not about Mourinho for me at the moment. It's about getting the 3 points against Spurs. Because the reality is, if we beat Spurs, we've got 6 points. We've got the same amount of points as Spurs. We're 1 point behind City. So it's you know, if we can beat Spurs, it's not the end of the world, is it? So we've got to beat Spurs. Yes, Liverpool spent $1 billion and no league, says Sam Howes. Well, yeah, that's a good example, Sam, because it just shows you what Liverpool's problems are as well. That they've spent badly over the last 30 years. I'm Spanish and watching Spain in the World Cup bored me to death. And now Manchester United is playing about the same slow build-up, says Luke. No, it wasn't Luke. It was... it's gone. And Gozo says, are you sure, Jose... Mark, are you sure? Can Jose come out and agree to the media that he caused the team to play crap? You'll be the first one to say, have never had a coach at Manchester United say such rubbish, says Ngozo. I don't think it's unique for a manager to come out and say that was my fault today. I've heard managers do that. Maybe not to the extent that I've said there, but look, Mourinho never puts the blame on himself. Never puts the blame on himself. Whereas Sir Alex Ferguson would do it quite regularly to deflect and keep and protect his players. Whereas Jose prefers to put his players under a bus. Although this season he's trying his best not to do it. Jose's a proven winner, but younger players don't buy into his ideas. That's why he likes older players, says Austin Moriarty. Jose has spoiled Martial's career, says Joshua. And Liverpool did not park the bus with 20 minutes to go, unlike Jose. They were on the front foot and tried to get a second, says Marvin Millen. Fantastic comment, mate. I mean, it infuriates the life out of me how we do that. Sheras says, giving the captain's armband to David De Gea will be good. He deserves it. If we lose to Spurs, I'm sorry, changes have to be made. I hope you know what I mean. United's better than anything. Anybody else, great content, Mark. I mean, David De Gea as captain is a fair shout. It is a fair shout, and I would like to see it happening. But and he has been here long enough. What's your thoughts on KSI versus Logan Paul, says Gerv. My thoughts are I'm watching Batman on Amazon Prime. I'm a big boxing fan. I love boxing, but that's not boxing. That is a fantastically orchestrated media event where lots of people are going to make a lot of money, and fair play to them for that. But I won't be watching it. In fact, I hope Logan Paul wins. I don't know either of them. I'm just judging them on what I've sort of seen on a little clip I saw this afternoon, and everyone's going to say Logan Paul's a prick and KSI's a really nice bloke, but the little clip I saw, I felt it was the other way, so I want Logan Paul to win, you know. But don't take that as any stance on anything. Physically, he looks bigger. He's got the longer reach, but they're not boxers, and I'm genuinely not interested in it. But I know a lot of you are, so that's my comment. I'll go Logan Paul to win, and I hope he does. But you know, I don't know the background. I don't know anything about those people. So, you know, my opinion on it is irrelevant. There you go. Active Dan says Logan's a clown. I thought that might be right. David De Gea is not a captain. He doesn't even shout at his back four, says Gareth Darlington. Well, neither does Valencia. Keep the good questions coming in. I love doing this on a Saturday night. We've got bad apples in our team. Get rid of them and Manchester United will prosper, says Sol Lund. Well, let us know who are the bad apples. Let us know in the live comments. Who are the bad apples? Because for me, if you're asking me, have Manchester United got bad apples in that dressing room? Yes. I think Jose Mourinho is a bad apple at the moment, but he can control that. He's the manager. I think Paul Pogba is potentially a bad apple because he's so influential. Do I think Anthony Martial's a bad apple? I don't think Anthony Martial's personality is to be a bad apple. I think Anthony Martial is obviously quite a quiet, shy, sort of introverted guy. I don't think he would be disruptive in the dressing room. I just think he doesn't respond to Mourinho, maybe. But yeah, it's hard to say who the bad apples are, and we're all predicting it. Jones and Smalling, says Sam House. No, they're just bad players. We won't win against Spurs, says Apple J-Lo. Look, it's going to be I can't wait. It's going to be a fantastic game against Spurs, and my enthusiasm for United is there at the moment, and I'm excited because it's a big game. The reality is, as I said this morning, I expect United to win. Anything less, and I won't be very happy because they have to respond and they have to win that game of football. Black says, I bet £2,000 that Liverpool won't win the league. They're a cup team. I think your money's going to be safe, mate. And Jose out. He will destroy everything to protect himself, and all the players will have zero confidence after him, says Aaron O'Brien. David De Gea, he said he doesn't like to shout at his back four. He'd rather do it after the half or game in the dressing room, says Gamer 101. And Tyrone Williams says, God, not this Martial rumour again. I've only heard this rumour about Martial today, Tyrone, so sorry. It involves Sevilla and the fact that the transfer window hasn't closed yet. I think if there's any truth in it, I wouldn't have a problem with Martial going to Sevilla on loan and playing week in, week out. I just think the relationship with Mourinho means that Martial isn't going to get used much. So he'd still be a United player. If he plays week in, week out, he'll develop, which is what I want Rashford to do as well. Russell says, fun fact, ever since Jose gave Rojo a banana, he's been poor. Fun fact, true. It's a bit fruity tonight, isn't it? We've had apples, bad apples. We've now had a banana. Who's going to give us a coconut? Not a fruit. Official. Mark, are you Mourinho in or out, says Gerv. At the moment, I'm Mourinho in because, and I have explained this loads of time, I get messaged so many times saying, why don't you just admit you're Mourinho out? I'm not Mourinho out. I don't want to get into the bigger picture here, but the reality is you can be very, very unhappy with something, but still back it. I mean, a lot of people, I don't want to get into politics, but there's a lot of people who, of a certain party, they're not going to go and change what their political party is, but they can't stand the leader of that party, but they're not going to change. I think I'm a little bit like that with Mourinho at the moment. He's frustrating the hell out of me, but I still, at the moment, think that to get rid of Jose, you've almost got to, not hope, but we've got to lose against Burnley and Watford and Spurs. That's 9 points. If we lose those games, we're going to be like 12 points behind people like City and Liverpool. That season over. I would rather, as I said last night, as long as we can get top four and as long as we can, take some key points against the big teams like Spurs, that for me is acceptable to get rid of Jose. I think Jose is going to have to go at some point unless he changes his footballing style. But I don't want a collapse where we're like bottom half of the table, miles off everybody else. I don't want that to happen. I would accept grinding out results this season, getting top four, and then Mourinho gets out the club. And then the new manager comes in with Champions League football and a bit of stability. I don't want this big collapse. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. For me to be Mourinho out, we've got to be 6 points or more off top 4. As soon as that happens, he's got to go, because you've got to get somebody in quick then to turn the tide. But at the moment, I'm still very much, well, I wouldn't say very much, I'm still Mourinho in. There's no point playing defensive against the smaller teams, says Zol. Comment of the night so far, absolutely spot on. You look at what Liverpool did to Brighton. You look at how Spurs and City do it as well. I mean, City should have beaten Wolves today. It was a great point for Wolves, but they should have beaten them. They kept coming and coming and coming. Hit the post a couple of times. They were a little bit unlucky. It looked like a handball. City really should have took 3 points today, but that's the brilliance of football. Sometimes you'll get a result thrown up like that. But what you see, and Everton have done it. I mean, I can't believe Everton didn't win today. From being down to 10 men, they got themselves 2-0 up, and then they blew it. Same against Wolves. They got a point. If they'd have had 11 men, I think they would. I think Everton are very unlucky not to have 9 points. But look at the contrast between Everton, and I will use this throughout the season while Jose's here. Everton fans were bloody furious last season having big Sam Allardyce as their manager. They were never in danger of going down because Sam Allardyce won't take you down. But Everton fans were fuming with the style of football. They went, they played Liverpool in the Anfield, I think at the Goodison Park or one of the Liverpool derbies, and they parked the bus. And I spoke to a couple of Everton fans when I was down at Sky Sports, actually, the Toffee TV lads, and they were saying the problem is, we've played many games against Liverpool over the years where Liverpool are always the favourites in the derby, but we always have a go. And when we park in the bus in the derby, you're like, what the hell, what's this all about? So they've got rid of that manager and brought in a manager who plays good football. And Everton fans are ecstatic. But that's the world that we live in at the moment. I said this last season. There are still some people who think you can pragmatically grind your way out of a title and stuff like that. You can't at the moment. You can't. Teams are just attacking. They are fast attacking teams and they are battering teams. Or at least they're getting the 3 points, even if they can't score the goals. Now is the time of attacking football. It won't be forever, but it could last 3, 4, 5 years. We've got to attack. We've got a manager who doesn't want to attack. And everybody else is doing it. Even Everton are doing it. And we're not doing it. And you're spot on with that comment. That if you're not attacking, you're nothing at the moment. You've got to do it. Bjorn Lundberg says, where's United in 10 years? What's your hopes for the future? I think in 10 years, it's a long time, 10 years. United have got to start getting things right. They've got to start getting things right. But at the moment, we are where we are, and I don't see any immediate change coming in. I'm waiting for the news saying you're fired, Jose, says Andrew Ellis. And now is the time for Big Sam. Long ball marks as positive energy. Well, we are the only team with Cardiff who do play long ball football, aren't we? Smash a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 500 likes, and I'll keep going for you. Maybe 5 years down the road, Jose's football will be in the ascendancy, but not right now, says Diony Slack 1. Yeah, maybe, mate. Maybe, mate. But I hope it never does come back. Come on, Mark. How can play attacking football with the team we have now? Says Tornado Throw. We're not going to play attacking football with the manager that we've got. Sol Lund says Zidane is a novice compared to Mourinho. Well, how can he be a novice when he's won 3 Champions Leagues in a row? And I think Zidane gets a lot of bad press because people say, oh, it's Real Madrid. That Real Madrid team, if you watched it over the last 3 years, they had numerous occasions where they could have collapsed and lost games, and Zidane got them playing as a team. And that's what he did with that team. He could have had better players in that squad, but he didn't. He built a team. Zidane wants to go back to Juventus anyway. I think Zidane will be at Juventus next summer, reunited with Ronaldo at the club he loves. So I don't think Zidane to Manchester United is going to happen anyway, unless Mourinho was sacked during this season and we could coach get Zidane to come now. But I don't see Zidane as the replacement. And then if you can't get Zidane, what's the point in sacking Mourinho before next summer anyway? Because who is there? Jeff Hetner says, we have no leader. Keane needs some attitude and anger. Very, very true, Jeff. Very, very true. You are very, very accurate with that. We are in a situation at Manchester United where we don't have a leader. And a lot of people say, well, Roy Keane's not a great coach. But I think at the moment we're sort of past that. I think we do need somebody in the coaching staff who is absolutely going to bollock these players and demand some respect. And I think at the moment Jose struggles with that. But if you put a United great in there who demands respect, I think it would make a big difference. I don't know why Jose never looked at that. I don't know why he didn't look at getting somebody like that to come and help him out. Because Michael Carrick's fantastic. I've always loved Michael Carrick. But is Michael Carrick a leader? I think he's a leader in the way he used to play football, but I don't think he's a vocal leader. I think United need that desperately. Where do I think we'll finish in the league? Says some random werewolf. I think that we will finish in the top 4. I've looked at the Premier League and I know it's only week 3, but I don't see massive quality there again. I think United at the moment would have to be looking at whether we can finish above Chelsea and Spurs. What an opportunity is it on Monday. But I can see United getting in the top 4. I don't buy into this drama. I think United can get top 4. But we've got to start winning some football games. How about any of the class of '92 to be our next manager? Not for me. Although, never say never. Jose should go back to Serie A. It suits him, says Javi Dre. Even Serie A's trying to shake off that sort of slow football mentality. What I liked about Zidane at Real was he always knew what sub to make, and he won many games because of that, says Lucas Lettner. Absolutely spot on. There were so many games where it was a problem like that. Grey Eagle says, I'm still experiencing post-traumatic stress from the Brighton loss. Hope we're more prepared for the Spurs game, says Grey Eagle. I think the Spurs game's going to go one of two ways. We're either going to react like we'd normally do and get a result, or he's lost the dressing room and we get played off the park and lose. And I think if the latter happens, the club have got to do something, haven't they? Because the players are going to tell us what it's all about. The players are going to tell us what it's all about on Monday night. Martial and Pogba can move on. No player is bigger than the club. Enough of attitude issues, says Vias Red Devil. Jose's outdated for football, says Crash Bandicoot. I've always said Jose's got to change. A lot of people say he never will change. Wolves play more attacking football than us, says Stepney. Look, I think most of the Premier League play better football than us. Bournemouth better than us. Brighton play better than us. Yeah, we've got the better players, but they play better than us, let's be honest. Herrera needs to be a decent player. First, he has gone back like he's passing. This is verb plural. I think I read that wrong. And fans are... How about Jardim for United, says Anyam Raza. Well, I like Laurent Blanc. You cannot blame Jose for the situation, says Indrajit. Players need to look in the mirror and supporters should stop praising performances basis on 1 week. We should draw against Spurs, says Peaks. Mark, are you going to buy Pogba's new boots, says Positive Energy. No, I wouldn't wear them to clear Robbie's crap off my back garden. And Jose is that guy still driving around in a Golf GTI thinking he's still got it, says Paul Robinson. Yeah. And when I talk about Robbie, I don't mean Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV. He doesn't come round my back garden and crap in it. I've got a dog called Robbie, as many of you might know. Napoli versus AC Milan is on, says Lionel Vegas. Yes, I've noticed the numbers have dropped off a bit tonight. I presume there is stuff going on, i.e. this bloody KSI stuff. But, thanks for the loyal United Stand viewers who've tuned in for Saturday night Q&A, because I actually really enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite shows of the week, just blasting through the live comments. So thanks everybody who's watched that. Jose is good for the Italian league, says Il Cincio. Are fans bringing Mourinho out banners to the Spurs game, says Wengi Simmons. I hope not. I hope not. Gungshi says there's nothing wrong with a Golf. Look, I love it. I love a Volkswagen Golf. And Ed O'Leary, Forest drew with Birmingham. Just thought you should know. It's really interesting that, Ed, because I actually live in Birmingham and I'm from Nottingham and I had no idea they were playing. So there we go. Thanks for that. What about That's Football, says Sabotage. Yeah, I was going to do something on it today. I've just been doing that. To be honest with you, I went out last night. I got a little bit drunk. That's why there was no 8 o'clock show. And I've just been feeling very, very rough today. So I've just spent the day watching telly, on my phone, tweeting stuff out. So I just haven't felt like doing anything else other than this show with you tonight. Banners are banned at Old Trafford, says Russell. Tyrone drives a Volkswagen Golf. And Rahul, how will we get 3 valuable points from the away games, which we missed out massively last season? We've already messed up against Brighton, but Burnley and Watford are to come out, and we've got to win. We've got to win our next 3 games. We've got to win our next 3 games. Spurs, Burnley away, Watford away. All very tough games. We've got to win them, and then we reassess. I think you lose one of those games again, and we'll be in trouble. Pogba's done nothing till this time. World Cup was won because of the quality the French team has all over the pitch. We have no leaders and we need to get one fast. Negativity is too much. We need to think positive, says Munzar. I said that yesterday. I think we do need to be positive. We don't need to be positive about the situation, that the way we're playing, because it's, you know, it's quite right that fans are having a go. But we do need to be positive in the context of it's Manchester United, our club, playing against the Spurs on Monday night, and we need to win. We need to give the team that support. If they don't give it back to us, the performance, then we've got every right to jump on it again. But in this small window of time, we need to be positive and get behind the team. We might, you know, be realists in our head and concerned, but we do need to be positive. 302 likes. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes. Chinlen says it's stupid logic, criticising the manager, spreading hatred message, and at the end I'm Jose in. And are there any Roy Keane-like players out there? Says John Gray. They're a dying breed, to be honest. There's not many. And how can we be positive when the manager is negative? Says opportunities don't happen, you create them. What a great name that is as well. I would agree. I would agree with that. I would agree. There is a lot of negativity from the manager. Joshua says, I really enjoyed your FIFA career 18 career mode. That was on my channel, the Mark Goldbridge live stream. I'm really itching. I tell you what, I was really itching today to do another FIFA 18 career mode, but you can't do it, can you? Because you got to wait for the new game. I was thinking, is there a way to create your own season with the fixtures running how they are? But you can't. So it's very difficult to recreate it. So I have to wait for FIFA 19, I suppose, but I do enjoy it. Anyway, the numbers are dropping. People are obviously off to watch something else, so I'm not going to keep anybody any longer. Thanks, everybody, for watching tonight. Tomorrow night, Sunday Night Live, we'll have Flex on. Hopefully, we'll get Sophie on, and hopefully she's better and she can come on as well. Got a cracking video going up for you tomorrow lunchtime. Keep an eye out for that. FIFA related, but also very United related. And then Sunday Night Live tomorrow night. And then Monday, we're building towards the game. So, good. I hate Monday night football. It seems to be a lot. I don't like waiting. It's not great waiting for United after a loss anyway. But the last game of the weekend is infuriating because we're just falling further behind everybody else. But not long to go. 2 days now. Thanks for watching. Please do drop a like on the video. And I'll speak to you all very soon.